Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I got some news stuff to get to, and I've been stuck in heartfulness, dodgy debacle land for the past week. There's stuff going on with that, and I'm putting up Journey series videos, and I have a video that's going to go up on Gratefulness meditation about this stuff. It's really well. I'll talk about that more in a voiceover later on. But I've been having thoughts about things from my youth lately. And, I got a bunch of other stuff to get to, but I thought I'd start here. So last night, my wife and I were watching a show that had Halloween and pranks, like the kids, they were throwing eggs and things. And I remembered when I moved to Simsbury, Connecticut, from West Hartford, Connecticut, when I was a kid. In Simsbury, they celebrated something. I couldn't think of the name of it. And I'm like, was it Cabbage Night? Like I wasn't, and I asked my wife, and she was like, she grew up in the same time period, but she had never heard of it. And this place is called Mischief Night. It's an informal holiday in which children, teenagers, and adults engage in jokes, pranks, vandalism, or parties. It is known by a variety of names, including Devil's Night, Gate Night, Goosey Night, Moving Night, Cabbage Night, Mystery Night. Apparently, it's celebrated more in the New York City, northern New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. And, again, one town I grew up in, there was none of this. Another town there was. I think it was celebrated the day after Halloween or the day before. And it was when you did these kind of things like toilet paper stuff. And there's a lot of toilet papering things and egg throwing. Here's some of the, that looks more like decorations there. But, toilet paper in somebody's house. And it was kind of a hassle, right? But it's interesting that there's places where it's celebrated. I guess it's there in Michigan. And it's up here in Michigan, then over here in this area. The rest of the country is oblivious to this holiday. And then, there's this thing called goober. Now, goober was a derogatory nickname for people, but also could be like a goober was also like a booger. And, I saw this when I was a kid. I knew it was a bad idea because they had this peanut butter, like crappy Smucker's peanut butter, with their mostly sugar jelly. And I thought this thing went away. Like I hadn't seen it in years. But I just searched it, and you can still buy it. And, if you're making a peanut butter and jelly, you want to have the right, and I don't make them anymore. But I made them when I was a kid, and then my kids ate them. But when you make a peanut butter and jelly, you want to have the right ratio to jelly to peanut butter. Like I am somebody who doesn't like a lot of sugar. So I would have a thin layer of jelly and not too thick a layer of peanut butter because I didn't love peanut butter. To me, the milk was the key. But, drinking milk with it was what I enjoyed about it. But if you have this, it's just random, right? You're going to have globs of peanut butter in some places and jelly in others. Like, that guy, one comedian, Brian Regan did a bit on this, where he said, I can't be opening up all kinds of jars. I have to open a jar of jelly and peanut butter. Like, I can't be opening up all kinds of jars all day, right? Like 2 jars. But anyways, I don't know if this is something, this is just a couple of things. I'll be talking more about some of the things from my childhood as they come up, but I've been thinking about things like this a lot lately, which to me is an indication of, it's like your life is passing before your eyes, like things that you haven't thought about in years. And some of these things, here's a little swirl there going on. Looks really appetizing. That's the peanut butter and jelly goober swirl there. I never had this product. I saw it as a kid, and it wasn't one of those things that I thought would be a good idea. But anyways, like when you think about things like this, right? You're just I've had like memories that have resurfaced that I hadn't thought about in years, like things that I'd pretty much forgotten about, like they had disappeared, and then all of a sudden something you haven't even, like, I didn't think about cabbage night probably, and since, I mean, after I left high school, I don't think I thought about it at all. And it never came back up in a movie or TV show where I remembered, oh yeah, there was that thing, because I don't remember ever participating in it or whatever it was. Like, it was just this thing was there that kids talked about. But all of a sudden I was like searching my memory for the name of the thing. It had been so long since I thought about it. But I'm, feeling that probably other people are going through this where, things are coming back up because, everything's being stirred back up before the, you know, things go south in a, apocalyptic type collapse situation. Okay, so let's start here. This is, first it starts here with Trump.
When there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months because I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
He's acknowledging that my economy is doing pretty darn well because he doesn't want that to continue.
He's not doing that. The way they just lie. I said the other day that Trump and Biden are the same guy. And someone said, are you saying they're the same guy? Okay. Like some stupid Trumper or Biden person. But for me, it was a Trumper. The person who commented was a Trump, or someone else, it might be a Biden person who say this. But if you don't see it, I can't help you. They're the same guy. They lie the same. They got the same sort of womenizing tendencies. I mean, they're a little bit different where Trump was a businessman and Biden was a career politician, but they're both corrupt. They're both weak. They're both selfish. They're both self-centered. They're both narcissistic. They're both gaffe magnets. Trump commits a lot of gaffes that go his way because the people who are following him like his gaffes. When he commits a gaffe, they don't realize he's being goofy or being stupid or, he's made a mistake. They think it's funny. They think it's him just riffing or whatever. And so they're the same guy, right? But Biden obviously is deteriorating a little bit faster. Like, he's been going senile for a longer time. Trump is starting to fall apart himself. And, he's just lying here. Trump isn't acknowledging that your economy's doing well.
By the way, the idea that he wants to see a crash in the next 12 months, doesn't want to be Herbert Hoover, he has to understand, he's already Herbert Hoover. He's the only other president who lost jobs during his term.
First of all, like, he's just like a ghoul just sitting up there. I mean, when he opens his mouth and talks, like, it doesn't matter what he says, just the way he says it and his cluelessness, and like, he's a guy who's old and clueless, and he's repulsive, right? Like, and the only reason he lost jobs is because of COVID and Trump getting worked. Trump got worked by the political establishment and the media to close down the economy. Like an idiot, he went along with it, so that's his fault. But they pushed that on him, right? It's like not a, and Trump's success was a false economy, a debt-based economy where he allowed the regulations that were put in place after the 2008 debacle to, the bankers loved Trump and Wall Street loved Trump because they could go back to their old derivatives shenanigans. And so, there's no way to gauge or judge either one of these guys because they both suck, right? Neither one of them is a positive person, and neither one of them is control, right? Both of them are puppets. Both of them are fools and, boneheads. They're boobs, right? They're complete boobs. So one of my viewers sent me this from Breitbart. Amateur Hour reporter Charlie Spearing's new book shows how Kamala Harris failed to achieve power. And so, Amateur Hour, Kamala Harris in the White House. And, this is the year of the amateur. And so, it could be Kamala. Like, that'd be, if Kamala runs for president, like, she's the ultimate in Amateur Hour. And this guy's her husband, Dougie Fresh. And so, Jill and Joe Biden and Dougie Fresh and Kamala Harris. Dougie Fresh has been making the circuit because he's a Jewish person and he's going after the anti-Semitism thing. I saw him on CNN the other day. But Dougie Fresh gives the first speech here.
Freedom of all Americans.
Woo! Defend your choice.
Donald Trump and the...
Woo, not that guy.
Donald Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans
Woo.
have created this new reality where families are living in fear and doctors are worried about helping patients. This moment requires all of us, everyone, each and every one of us, to speak out in defense of reproductive freedom.
Woo. Look at Jill. Look at Jilly Jill. Okay, so that's Dougie Fresh. And here Jilly Jill goes second here. I didn't watch any of this, but I saw Kamala on the news, and I think it's his speech because she was talking about abortion, and Kamala just sucks so bad at what everything that she does, and she doesn't have this excuse of dementia, like she just sucks because she sucks, right? Like, I mean, the other guys suck also without dementia, but dementia, is definitely is something that adds to it.
However, the details of their experiences were similar. They wanted these pregnancies. For them, there was crib shopping and ultrasounds stuck to the fridge, and then a devastating diagnosis. Doctors
Look at this woman shaking her head. Yes, agreed. These lights are weird. Like, what's going on here? Some kind of
who refused them care, pain and humiliation and deadly infections. They described being told that they were in medical danger,
whoa.
but not enough to get the abortions they needed. They talked about, being afraid to tell people what had happened, a feeling like a
Okay, so that's Jilly Jill. So then this is all about Roe v. Wade. This is and then Kamala comes up like she's just the worst. This is what the Democrats have to offer, right? Jill and Joe Biden and Kamala and Dougie Fresh. Like, they have a Kamala nightmare because he just sucks so bad. So here comes Kamala. Woo! Or what did she say? Let's go back a second. Okay, the handoff. There's the handoff. Give Dougie Fresh a kiss. Give Jilly Jill a hug. Woo!
Good afternoon. Can we give it up for the First Lady of the United States of America?
Woo! Give it up! Woo! Man hands. Trump would kill for those hands. Woo!
Thank you, Dr. Biden. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Jill. Jilly Jill, Dr. Biden. There was a time when Tucker Carlson, who sucks, and I've talked about that, but he read from Jill Biden's doctoral thesis, right? So she went to like community college and she got a doctorate in education. So she's not really a doctor. She's a doctor of education. And he read from her thesis. They have to submit a doctorate level paper. And, it's has this remedial language and just all these mistakes and grammatical mistakes and things like this. I mean, so even her doctorate is a joke. She was a babysitter when she met Joe Biden, married to somebody else when she was 18. And her first reaction when they went out on a date is, well, I'll never see this guy again. And now she's out there like she's, got something to say. She's a dope and she's probably the brains of this operation here, right? Like Jill Biden, out of the four of them, is probably the best. I mean, her husband's always been a dud and he's just he's been a gaff magnet and a snoozler, groper, all these things, sniffer, and all the things that's wrong with Jojo Magoo. Kamala's the worst of the four. Dougie Fresh is just some weird businessman. Who's, I mean, he doesn't have anything that pops for him. He's kind of when you hear him talk, there's no charisma or anything there. But they all suck, right? And Jill Biden might suck the least. I don't know.
She's been traveling. She's really been traveling, and I can't
Are
thank
you calling her a hoe?
enough for your friendship and your leadership.
Oh, yeah.
And
They're just such good friends. They love each other.
And I have to say about our First Lady, just as she left the stage, she has been an unwavering champion for the women and families of our nation, I see her when the cameras are on and when they're off, and she's an extraordinary leader on so many levels. So again,
Yeah, there you go. Shake your heads. Yeah,
to
she's
Dr.
great.
Jill Biden, thank you very
She's
much.
Dr. Jill Biden, superhero at large.
Please have a seat if you'd like. And to my husband, the first, second gentleman of the United States, Doug M. Hobb.
The first, second gentleman. He's a first, second gentleman. He got there first. Like he can say if there's a comment section just for first gentleman, he can say a second gentleman. He can say first.
And of course, I always thank him for standing with the women of America and for the people. And of course, our president, Joe Biden, who's going to take the stage very shortly.
Woo! He's so great. Woo! I can't wait till he dies. Woo! I'm gonna get my chance pretty soon here. Woo!
Who, as we all know, which is why we are here together, we have in Joe Biden a courageous fighter
Oh my God, he's so great.
for our most fundamental freedoms as Americans, including, of course, the freedom to make decisions about one's own body and not have their government tell them what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. Like, like some sort of mandatory, imposed, something that was mandatorily imposed to do with our bodies. We would never be a part of that. Joe Biden would never allow such a thing to happen. Woo!
And of course, today, that freedom is under profound threat. We all know 19 months ago, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood and RBG,
Exactly. RBG.
took a constitutional right from the people of America,
No way. They did that? Why would they do that?
from the women of America.
Women? What was it? What was this thing that you speak of?
And in the
The
19
women can't vote anymore? What's going on?
months since, in states across our nation, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women.
What about these women? She has a way of telling every voice. It's there. They criminalize and punish women.
Laws that make no exception even
Laws
for
that make no exception.
rape and incest.
Those things.
Let us all agree, one does not have to abandon their
One does not have to abandon
faith
faith
or deeply held beliefs
or deeply held beliefs.
to agree the government should
The
not
government.
be telling her what to do with her body.
Exactly. Just like the right wing is always pushing for more government. The Republicans always want more government, not the Democrats. It's the Republicans. Woo!
If she chooses,
If she chooses.
if she chooses,
If she chooses.
will consult with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam, but it should not be the government
It should not be the government.
telling her what they think is in her best interest.
Exactly. Exactly. What's in her best interest? She's so... It's totally amateur hour.
And note, while these extremists say they are motivated by the health and the well-being of the women and children of America,
The baby. That's the baby, right? It's the unborn baby. It's the unborn baby. Let's talk about the unborn baby. Not the ones that have health conditions. Not the ones that have been, I've talked about this before. Abortion is murder because it's a human life. But it's more complicated than that, right? And most Americans believe in it, so that's a problem there. 60% of Americans believe it should exist. So, it's government can't say something's not a murder. It's like we're talking about science and the soul. If you believe in a soul, the soul has created a body. Your soul manifests your body. Your soul creates a body, chooses the mom, chooses the circumstances. If there is a God, there's a plan, there's a soul, then that all has to happen. If you believe in God, and she brought up these religions, if you believe in God, you believe in a soul. You believe that God has a plan, and you believe that, all these things are manifesting because there is some intention. God has an intention, right? That the soul has an intention. The soul creates the body. The soul creates the circumstance of its own birth. And so the soul is choosing to be born. You know, when kids said, I never chose to be born, that's incorrect. Your soul has created this. Or there's no soul. Like, you know, it's whatever. There either is or there isn't, right? But if there is, then this is a spiritual murder. But on a physiological level, it's when life begins. And life begins at conception. There's no other way to think about it. Any scientist, any doctor would, you know, have to agree that that's when life begins. A human life begins at conception. A dog life begins at conception, right? Whenever that, you know, process is, when it becomes a third, you know, it's no longer the mom or the dad. It's a new human being. And so, if you're going to say murder is wrong, then this is wrong, right? Because especially since it's a baby, it doesn't matter how young it is, right? Like, you know, whether it's 80 or 17 or 28 or 50 or whatever it is, right? Or, you know, 3 months old in the womb, it's going to the same thing. It's a human life that's being taken, right? And that's the issue. And, you know, it's not political, and it's, you know, it's only like truth, right? It's whether it is or it isn't. And if you're going to talk about this, you have to explain that this is part of it. Our society wouldn't have survived without abortion. In terms of the economy would have collapsed from, you know, most of the babies that are being aborted would be, you know, like a drain on society because they would be born into bad circumstances. And, you know, the economy of these cities and the country wouldn't, you know, it would be the population that would be there, and it would be population of, you know, more and more people who are a drain on the system, right? And so that's why abortion is legal. It's to keep the unwanted babies down, you know, but it's murder, right? It's just, there's, you know, I mean, what do you think? You know, what do you think it is when you go and you stop a heartbeat, right? You stop a life.
In reality, they ignore the crisis of maternal mortality.
Yeah, exactly.
The top 10 states in our country with the highest rates of maternal mortality all have abortion bans.
No way. The irony of it.
The hypocrisy.
It's the hypocrisy. Okay, so she's really bad. And then this guy comes in. This is their star. He's the closer. Let's go, Joe. Okay, let's go back, because that, whatever he said to say, let's go, Joe. I mean, that's just, you know, he doesn't have fans. Look at them, they're like robots. Okay, so he must come out here. Let's start from the beginning here.
Well,
Let's go,
look,
Joe. Woo! He's lost. He's clueless. Where am I?
Jill and I had a chance to sit down and talk with Amanda and her husband, Josh. I told you how proud we were of your courage, Amanda, standing up and speaking out on such a personal issue to help so many women. And
So I guess somebody's out there. They're trying to shout down the person. There's a heckler, and they have this thing where they're just told. I mean, it's like robotic. They're removing the heckler. Look at these robots, man. More minutes. More years. Years more 4. More 4 years. 4 more years. Years more 4. Joe Biden stinks. He has a diaper. He poops in his diaper. His son is a cracker. He has dementia. His vice president is a joke. His wife is kind of a doctor. 4 more years. 4 more years. Let's go, Joe. Let's go, Joe. Let's switch to Let's Go, Joe. Let's just... Woo! We did it! Woo! That was great.
they feel deeply.
They feel deep.
I want to thank you again, Amanda, for your absolute courage. And to all of you here today, thank you for your support defending freedom in America, because that's what we're doing. Yes,
Who's doing it?
yes,
Let's go, Joe. Let's go, Joe. 4 more years. He touched his nose. He doesn't have a mask on. He is a dog. Let's go, Joe. Joe, let's go. Let's go, Joe. Go, Joe Lutz.
Yesterday marked the 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade, which recognized the woman's constitutional right to choose. Her right to make deeply personal. We're going to have this going to go on for a while.
So there's people there. Like they can't deal with the hecklers. It's gonna go on for a while.
We got a couple more of these, I think.
A couple more of these are just hecklers. They're all, and they're trying to get rid of them. Oh my God! Do you think this is helping them? You think this is making them look good? Like, I mean, just shouting like mindlessly. These all look like, these look like an infomercial, like they're all paid, like these are paid people. Like they're not fans, they're paid actors. Woo!
Well, folks, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right. And so do a majority of Americans. And they still do.
Woo! It's all women back here, mostly
We
women.
all know what happened a year and a half ago.
Except this guy right
The
here.
new Supreme Court made an extreme decision overturning Roe v. Wade with their...
So obviously this is their point, right? This is their campaign. This is their one campaign event. They brought out the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Dougie Fresh leading off, Jill batting second, Kamala doing third, and Joe batting cleanup. And, like he's got dementia. No one really wants him to run. They have a Kamala problem because nobody wants her. And so this is the Democratic Party. But they do have this one winning issue where the majority of Americans believe in abortion, 60%. And that's a lot, in terms of politics and the divisions that go on. And so they're riding this thing here.
with their Dobbs decision.
The other thing where Trump and Biden are similar is that Biden is a moderate Democrat, and Trump was neither Republican or Democrat. Like no one knew what his political beliefs were. He donated a lot of money to the Clintons and other people, and he was a businessman, and he didn't care. He had some things that were views that were right wing and some things that were left wing, and he was pro-abortion. Trump used to be pro-abortion, and I think he's paid for them from some of his skanks, right? And so, in fact, that's some of the accusations. So he's a guy who's like a moderate Republican, but he's gone extremist. And of course, Joe Biden has to be more of a Democrat. But one of the reasons Joe Biden was viewed as someone who could beat Trump is that Republicans kind of liked him, right? He was a Democrat that Republicans could identify with. And Trump was, again, neither Democrat or Republican as a businessman. And he went hard right because that was, like he just was an act, right? So this is another way they're both fraudulent. Like neither one of them is extremist, but they're playing extremist, right?
I'm sorry it's taking so long.
Okay, so let's just move forward till they get all the hecklers out. They're still doing it, right? The whole speech. They're moving it down here.
Kentucky, Wisconsin, and right here in Virginia, Americans have showed up, women and men of all races, all backgrounds, voting to protect the freedom to choose.
Hey, choose. This is where he yells like he's get off my lawn. So let's wrap it up here. Woo, he said something big here. Let's go back.
Today is a day to call to action. With your voice, with your power, with your vote, we can restore the protections that have been around for over 50 years under Roe v. Wade.
Woo!
We can.
Boy, that's annoying sound.
We can.
Oh my God, this is like This is an advertisement for the end of humanity, right? Like, this is like, humanity shouldn't continue. I mean, your QBs have been that. It's just like there's not a lot to go on here. There's not a lot of no, there's not a lot to work with in terms of humanity. When you're saying, "Oh, why should there be apocalypse?" Well, this is it, and also the Trumpers, right? People mindlessly going around with, it's just obvious that this is just a joke and a. This looks like a completely staged crowd. He had no enthusiasm. Like, they should turn the camera around and see how many people are there, right? Because the guy couldn't conduct a rally. He couldn't campaign in 2020. He just, they had to hide him with COVID. Remember, he was doing speeches in parking lots with like 50 cars because they were social distancing. Remember, like, he was barely doing interviews, and he wasn't going out and doing stump speeches because he was senile back then. And so this looks like a paid audience. It's handcrafted, and they're not turning around and showing you how many people are there. It's just a bunch of people up there, and that are on the stage that are like all following along with the chants. I mean, they do this throughout, and they're covering his inability to speak. They might even have put these people out there in the audience to distract from, if you have these hecklers and you have people on stage doing this, then you don't have to listen to Joe speak for 40 minutes. I mean, this might be the strategy to keep him from, gaffing out, right? Or covering up his gaffes with chants.
We can once again make it the law of the land in America, and we're going to do that. Are you ready to make it happen?
Woo, woo.
Well,
okay, so how are you gonna do that? Because the Supreme Court has ruled. Like, you can't. What are you going to pass a new law with Congress and what is this process? Like, the Supreme Court has struck down Roe v. Wade. That can't be redone by the Supreme Court, right? And you'd have to kill these judges, or you'd have to, put more judges on the Supreme Court that were Biden appointees, and that the whole thing would turn into a joke, right? Kangaroo court.
Do that. We need a new Congress. You ready to make that happen?
Woo-hoo.
Give me a Democratic House of Representatives and give me a bigger Democratic Senate. And we will pass a new law restoring the protections of Roe v. Wade, and I will sign it immediately.
Immediately, you won't wait. I mean, if you give me these things, I won't wait a second. I'll do it as soon as they pass the law. Woo!
And let's remember, it was Donald Trump and his Supreme Court who ripped away the rights and freedoms of women in America. And it'll be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all of you who are going to restore those rights for the women of America.
Woo!
Donald Trump is betting you won't vote on this issue. But guess what? He's betting we won't hold him responsible either.
You were supposed to say he's wrong. You stepped on your own line there.
Away the rights. He's betting you're going to stop caring. By the way, that you'll get distracted and discouraged and stay home.
No.
Guess what? I'm betting he's wrong. I'm betting you're the one won't forget. I'm betting.
He's gaffing up a storm here, but they're covering it with this goofy applause and stuff.
You won't stop caring.
Woo!
That you won't get distracted. And I'm betting come November, we will vote in a record numbers.
He's betting that this is going to happen, mail-in ballots.
And when we do that, we'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
That was a gaffe right there. So that was a gaffe, and they're covering it, right? So don't mess. Let's see that again. That was wonderful. Let's go back here. Here we go.
And when we do that, we'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
See, that was a nonsensical sentence, but they're covering it. Anything he says, they're cheering, so that you don't see the gaffe. Like that's their strategy here. Woo! Nailed it.
Let me close with this. I believe 2024 is going to be the most important election we've had since 1864. I mean it.
He means it. I'm not lying.
And the reasons are clear. Democracy is on the ballot.
Is it? Is it on the ballot?
Freedom is on the ballot.
Is it? Is it on the ballot?
Like the freedom to choose.
Freedom of choice.
The freedom to vote.
Freedom of vote.
The freedom to love who you want.
The freedom of love who you are.
The freedom to go to work, go to school, go to your house of worship without fear of being gunned down by a weapon of war.
Exactly. Freedom of that, too.
So my question to you is simple. Are you ready?
Woo!
Are you ready to defend democracy?
No.
Are you ready to protect our freedom?
No, I want to play
Are you
video
ready
games.
to win this election?
No, I'm busy that day.
Get this done. Talk to your families and friends. Organize your community. Register to vote.
All right, so that's Jojo Magoo. Okay, a few more things to get to. Barack and Michelle Obama convinced bumbling Joe Biden, 81, has lost his grip ahead of election. Report says this is from Radar Online or the National Enquirer. President Joe Biden is stubbornly ignoring polls, pals, and former President Barack Obama, who are allegedly telling the 81-year-old he needs to quit the race to save America and democracy. Radar Online has learned. Radar Online. Insiders snitched that the tension between the two presidents recently exploded after irate Obama rushed to secret meeting and confronted Biden and his fading chances to fend off surging Republican candidate Donald Trump in the upcoming November election. Obama read Joe the Riot Act and spilled the Beltway insider. The National Enquirer. He told him to up his game or step aside for a candidate who can win the race. Well, it ain't Kamala, right? QAnon, because not everyone can afford Scientology. One of my viewers sent me that. That's wonderful. British citizens should be trained and equipped to fight. UK Army Chief says citizens should be ready to fight. Here are the headlines. British citizens should be trained and equipped to fight a potential war with Russia, military chief says. This is all the stuff's going on in Europe. Britain's face call to fight in amid forces if UK goes to war with Russia, top army chief warns.
NATO announced on Thursday a new military exercise set to be the largest since the Cold War. Steadfast Defender 2020.
The Cold War.
4 will start next week and run through until May. The unprecedented exercise will feature more than 90,000 troops from all 31 alliance countries plus Sweden.
The big difference with a year ago, I would say, Terry, is that there's a lot of things that have happened in the armed forces and in the defense organizations. What hasn't happened is in our societies the understanding that it is more than the military that has to be able to operate in a conflict or in a war. It is the whole of society that will get involved, whether we like it or not.
Good thing you took away their guns. The Russians are coming.
I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace. And that's why we have the plans.
The simulated conflict.
Okay, so that's happening. Hilaria Baldwin wears very distracting outfit amid husband Alex indictment for involuntary manslaughter. Coffee, fishnets, and silver biker jacket. There's a silver biker jacket. There's the coffee. There's the phone. There's the girl from Boston, Spain. There's the fishnet stockings. This is the view here. She comes from a place that doesn't exist. It's Boston in Spain, and that's what they wear there. So, some more pictures here. They got a bunch of them. There's poor Alec. She's wrecked his life. She wrecked your life, bro. It's all her fault. So there's a Netflix movie called Damsel. Netflix sucks at copyright. But it starts off with this girl from Millie Bobby Brown from, whatever, Stranger Things. She's scared. You better run. You better run. And she's going thing, and she's running around, and she's caught in a cave. She's going through some sort of test. She's got to fight off spiders and big stuff here, and a lot of close-ups, and she's doing this stuff here. She's fighting these things off. She's been kidnapped. There's sharp objects. There's these teeth that she's got to come out of this orifice here. Better run. She's got to climb up this jagged orifice. She's going to come out on a cliff, and she's like, there's a demon or something behind her. She's got to like look down, and there's raging waters, and she's got no choice because it's cold and wet, but there's something coming up behind her. And what's she going to do? She's got to do something. What are you going to do? In 2024, she's got to do something here. And then she's here in court, she's bowing before her, and she's come back, and this is the queen who's running things. This is her first, the 27th first gentleman here with the women have denutted the men, and she's the queen from, whatever that movie was, The Princess Bride. She's giving her a hug.
It's been our task to protect our people.
The women have to protect the people. It's their task. They just have to do it. The women have to do it. She's got to go on this voyage, and she's got to get a sword.
Long line of women.
Right here.
Long line of women.
It's a long line of women who are protecting the people because they're the kick-ass people. I've talked about this before. Here they come out as soldiers. They come out with those flying birds. Here she comes here, and she's going to... Look at this. They're stabbers. They're a bunch of stabbers over here. They like to stab things. And there's these queens here, these wonderful queens, these important women here, women of stature. They're coming in here, and what's going to happen? This thing? She's got to fight her way. Look, she's got to fight her way through all this stuff. She's got to pass the test, and then she's going to do it. She's going to bring it. Wait, let me get this sword. Let me hold this. Let me hold this phallic symbol up and show you who's got the dildo. Boom, look at this, right? Boom, look at, you got it. I'm showing who's boss. Like, this is the new the new heroism. You can't spell hero without he, I mean her. Damsel. Oh, I almost forgot this. Hillary Clinton.
Dale tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena. Macarena. Macarena tiene un novio que se llama Apellido Vitorino. En la jura de bandera de Anunciación. Se le dio con los años. Macarena tiene un novio que se llama Apellido Vitorino. En la jura de bandera de Anunciación. Se le dio con los amigos. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo para la alegría que está buena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, Macarena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo para la alegría que está buena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, Macarena. Alba, tú que sabes, Alba.
This guy's hijacking the Macarena. This is like the saddest thing ever. This is like the worst thing. The Macarena was, one of these stupid line dances. But anybody can learn to do it. That's the thing. It's something where anybody can learn to do it. And Hillary doesn't know it, doesn't know the song. And she cackled in the middle, right? Obviously drunk. And the other people, a few of them are kind of doing it the right way. Everyone else is clueless. They don't have rhythm to clap along with the music. I mean, it's like wonderfully horrible. Okay, so that guy, they cut him off. So that was great. So here's what I'm talking about. This is looks like a plastic Babaji from Heartfulness. I just got to a comment from somebody who's there in India, some anonymous person who's saying he's monetizing everything. Dodgy is. And, this was a free system that now is being monetized. But there's a guy called the Dodgy Truther that sends me things who's, fighting to try to wake people up in India about the corruption of this guy Dodgy, right? You guys don't understand this. You haven't listened to the Journey series. There's been 4 masters of the Sajmarg meditation, and the 4th one, Dodgy's created this parasitic organization called Heartfulness. And I'll be covering this in the Journey series. So he's got this plastic Babaji, and here's the bookstore. And he's got all these idols and things that people are supposed to have, statues. Babaji said not to have these. Babaji was firmly against idol worship. And he's got some kind of plastic Babaji up here, and they're selling all this crap, right? And this is just one of many things that he's doing that goes against the fundamental principles of the system. I thought I'd add this here. I'll talk about this more in the 137th edition of the Journey series. So I got a few more things to talk about in terms of UFOs. I've been talking about that in line with World War III, that they're pitching now, right? They're pushing out this idea. We lived through this in the 80s with the fear of nuclear war with Russia. And nothing ever came of that, but they pushed it hard. And so you never know if they're doing this for, they actually believe in what they're doing, or, it's just always, you always have to read the ingredients and whatever. But this mindlessly following leaders. So this person wrote a comment. They're there in India. And he says he's confronting, I don't know if it's a he or a she, but the person wrote the comment, it's an anonymous person, said they've been confronting people about Dodgy's behavior. And, I'm going to read the whole comment on my Journey series 137, but the person said that the people just say, well, the master's infallible, which is unthinkable, like the system that I have benefited so much from, Sajmark's system. And this, Dodgy's just embarrassing. Like he's probably in many ways more clueless than Joe Biden and Trump combined in terms of his bad decisions. He's just so incompetent. And then he makes these decisions that are fly in the face of the teachings, and all these people have just folded. And I've been, dealing with that for the past couple of years, the shock that these people who claim to love the system and the previous masters, even more so than me, have caved like sheep will do. It's so embarrassing, for themselves. But then you have this with Biden, these mindless, infomercial-like people up on that stage, just paid shills or whatever, and, they can just dupe people to believe that this is real. And then, of course, the Donald Trump supporters, when this guy's displayed himself as being just sucky on every level, and he imploded in 2020, and the Trumpers are just lying up behind him. It's just the downfall of humanity that just can't see what needs to be seen. It's just right there in front of them, and they refuse and rearrange reality to see whatever they want to see. And so that's happening. But there's some more stuff to do with UFOs. There's Whispers of the Brighter World. I've been talking about that recently. Whispers is these messages from the second master of the system, Babaji, that guy that you saw the bust of. And he's been giving these messages. He was giving these messages from 1999, 1990s, late 1990s, until 2018, when the medium, who's a French woman, died. And, there's these prophecies in the messages. And there's 2 messages I've read that are going into a Journey series. And this one I left up. I'm going to read here, and then I'll read these messages, and I'll comment on the other side. Saturday, December 4th, 1999, 8 a.m. The universe is populated with planets, some of which are inhabited. It is in these places that your evolution continues. These are different forms of life, undetectable by Earthlings in the current state of their knowledge. So what he's talking about here is there are planets where there's just etheric life without bodies, life without materialism, right? And when you die and are liberated from this planet, and it takes some, evolution on your part, despite what's told to you by various religions, when you reach that level where you don't have to come back, you're free from your earthly bondage, your etheric being goes to these planets, these planets that are not inhabit, they're not habitable, they're not, there's no organic life there, but there's etheric life, and that these planets are going to be disrupted. Well, here he says this: these are different forms of life undetectable by Earthlings in their current state of knowledge. Unfortunately, their technology has serious limitations. All these forays into space are sufficiently dangerous and harm a certain equilibrium. Their mania for exploration and conquering will not stop by itself. A time will come when it will be necessary to put an end to this kind of conquest, as the means being used are devastating. Humans want to play at being the conqueror of space. They believe they are alone on the planet, which is in fact under higher surveillance. Such terrible human tragedies take place of a greater and greater magnitude without any effective means being envisioned to truly remedy them. What would humans go and do on the other planets if not reproduce the same patterns, the same social misery that all the while is dramatically spreading on Earth? They have reached an extreme of excess. We can only note these sad facts. Babaji. What he's saying here also, I read there was When Whispers I read here maybe a couple videos ago talking about UFOs and how there needed to be an invasion at some point. Because there's other, if this isn't a simulation, we're not in a video game. And even if we are, there's alien life, right? There's other planets throughout a massive universe. And the same thing that's happened there's going to be other material life, but also there's soul life, there's spiritual life in these things. And human beings going up with this disruptive technology that hurts our souls, that hurts our subtle bodies and our etheric aspect of ourselves here. And eventually that this has to be, we have human beings who've been given technology that we don't have the maturity to use. And we use things in a destructive, we're not evolved enough to be wise and be cooperative with God and nature. We're not spiritually evolved. So at some point this needs to be stopped. And whether it's World War III or, collapse of civilization, it seems like from these whispers that talk a lot about upheavals and sort of collapse of civilization, there's going to be parts of civilization where they're still doing dumb stuff, right? And so, all of those things. And it just looks that way, right? It looks like, right now it's a question of whether the experiment of human beings needs to continue or not. And for whatever reasons, the powers that be are giving human beings every possible chance to evolve and grow into a higher nature that is there for all of us to embrace, but it just isn't something we're willing to do. Here's the other Whispers messages. But so there's all that stuff. Let me read these two Whispers messages, and then I'll get into some of this stuff here. The Whispers messages that have been coming out this year are very intense. And so this is from it's Saturday, December 4th, 1999, 10 a.m. What we are saying may sound exaggerated to you, but we who have a complete vision of what is taking place on the earth have grounds for being dismayed. France, compared to other regions of the globe, does not have too much to complain about for the moment. Do not forget, however, that in certain countries, terror, famine, and complete insecurity prevail. You are privileged people, and you do not realize it. The earth has entered a very harsh stage of its evolution. It must go through the torments that we have mentioned. Let us not go any further for the moment. You must live in the present. Keep a positive view of things. One should not, however, turn a blind eye. You are men and women of this time, and you must face up to things. All that happens to you in this life with your capabilities, you are fortunate to have the recourse of faith, a great strength. Keep moving on and advancing towards perfection. It is your salvation. Be blessed in all your undertakings, and above all, do not have doubts if everything does not go as you wish, Babaji. And then this one was from the next day. Saturday, December 5th, 1999, 10 a.m. In the coming century, scientists will discover a primordial element concerning the spiritual life of human beings. High tech will enable them to go quite far in their exploration of the human body, of the heart in particular, which we have just been speaking about. They will discover new important elements of the nervous and lymphatic systems that are communication networks between all the organs, with impulses or orders coming from the brain and the heart. The real functions of the heart will then be brought to life. Those who are in the right will have to fight, as always, to bring their views to the foreground. 4 centuries ago, one didn't even know that the heart had anything to do with the blood circulation. It was a mystic who understood it and whose views prevailed. These concepts, as well as the overall reality of the heart, were already known in very ancient civilizations. You should give a little more humility to some of the so-called scientists of this time. Could the next century be called the Age of Enlightenment? Let us pray it will be so in every sense of the term, Babaji. This is Dr. Robert Lewis, who was a Rosicrucian, was the guy who figured out that it was for circulation. So these very intense things are going on, all over the place, and the Whispers messages are like getting into the time where all these prophecies and things are going to come out. Some of them I've read before, some of them are I haven't read them, or at least here on any sort of YouTube video. All right, so I want to get this up on a YouTube channel. It's been days since I published anything. Hopefully it will be greened and I can put this up on today, Friday, January 26th. This is going to be an ongoing theme I talk about here, right? The collapse of human beings having the ability for critical thinking skills, World War III, and the collapse of the economic system, and whatever alien stuff that's becoming more prevalent, whatever that's going to lead to. And then also intertwined with what I'm seeing in this spiritual organization I used to belong to that was great, and, it worked so well to help people evolve, and how it's just collapsed in a way that's so embarrassing, like so stupid, like Daji's like so stupid, right? And all these things seem to be coming to a head where things are getting more intense. I'm noticing an uptick in stories. That's been going on now for years, but something's happened in 2024. And then, of course, the incompetence, right? This is just amateur hour. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramount, definitely reporting for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.